There are only two things that calm her down, and that's a giant statue of a fish and a corncob pipe. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony, you have mentioned, I don't want to mess up your OPSEC here, but you've mentioned a number of times on the show that you, at one point in your life, spent the night in a jail cell.
I did.
Yeah.
I did spend my night in a jail cell.
Were you at that time? I assume that you were, but I want to clarify. Were you at that time fingerprinted?
Who's asking?
Just
Who the fuck
me
are you?
A couple of my friends in trench coats over here.
Have you been a cop this whole time?
I have to tell you if I am.
If you've been a cop for the 15 years I've known you and you haven't told me.
It's entrapment?
It's the longest entrapment. This is some deep cover shit.
By the way, that's my favorite Eugene O'Neill. That's my favorite Eugene O'Neill play, The Longest Entrapment.
The Longest Entrapment. It's my favorite Gex is Gex 3.
So you've been fingerprinted. I don't think I have ever been actually fingerprinted. So I'm staying off the grid.
Not even for funsies. Like one of your friends got a fingerprint kit or something, and like
no, I think maybe there was like a school thing where we did our thumbs or something.
Oh
maybe
yeah, the safety thing.
Yeah,
the safety thing. Let me tell you something about that. Here's the thing about the safety thing for your kids, where it's like, bring your kid into school and let your kid get fingerprinted for safety. Hey man, if anybody finds a missing kid.
Yeah.
You don't need the fingerprint. They're going to find who the missing kid belongs to. If there's a missing kid, they're going to go, "Oh shit, missing kid."
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're getting a central database of everybody's fucking information. I didn't take my pills this morning. I didn't take my pills this morning.
Okay. It's all right.
I'm sorry.
We didn't find the kid, but we found traces of their fingerprints.
That's right.
That's not going to make anybody happier.
Ma'am, we found your child. Oh, thank God. Well, there's a downside to it. I'm sorry. Your child is the world-renowned art thief, the Silent Wolf. What? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it adds up.
No, that's impossible. He's 7. He can't be the Silent Wolf. The Silent Wolf stole the Hope Diamond.
Also, he's never silent.
Yeah, he doesn't shut up. Mom, I want this. Mom, I want. Well, you're just gonna have to see something. They open up the door, and the kid's sitting there in like a black turtleneck with a long cigarette, just like, well, mother. Well, mother. I knew the day would come where we would have to have this reckoning. Did you bring me a juice box?
No. Well, that's okay. I stole 7 of them already.
Perhaps I may offer you a juice.
Gift shop.
Mother.
He steals art, but it's all just finger painting. It's very strange.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He only steals Damien Hirst's. Just the spinning disc ones.
It's just stick figures as far as the eye can see. Anyway, the reason I ask you about getting your fingers printed, getting fingerprinted, is you'll recall, I assume, that you don't know.
I was pretty drunk.
Belligerent. Combative,
but go on.
Screaming a lot. You'll recall, I'm sure, that they did not just fingerprint one of your fingers.
No, they take the full set.
They do the whole hand. The reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure many of you already know, no two fingerprints are alike. Not just no two humans' fingerprints are alike, which is also true. No two fingerprints, even on your hand. So we've got billions of people.
Or on a fish.
Or on a fish.
Your fingerprints won't match the fingerprints of any other animal. So like, if they were trying to figure out whether you or like a Echo the dolphin robbed an undersea jewelry store,
Yeah.
they would be able to tell.
Yeah.
Except you wouldn't be able to tell with me because you would find the same thing that the officers found that night, which is I burned my fingerprints off.
That was smart. That's really
right.
smart. I mean, not intentionally. You just love gripping hot plates.
My people kept saying to me, Anthony, hot. And I was like, hungy. I was 37. Hungy.
By the way, scuba cops are the only ones that investigate the undersea convenience store.
Well, they're the only ones that have the government allotment of undersea bullet pens. You know, the pens like the astronauts get? They have bullet pens and waterproof paper, and they're the only ones.
Scuba cops.
Scuba cops really does feel like something that would have happened in the 90s. Like, you know, like when Baywatch was happening and it was like,
oh man, hey, that would have been good.
These lifeguards have to solve lifeguard mysteries. And we're all like, really? How many lifeguard mysteries are there?
One a week, evidently. One a week.
It's like how they had
and
to come
sometimes a B story.
Yeah, before they decided that Aquaman should mostly live under the ocean, before they were like, hey, Aquaman, you should mostly just be down there. That's where you're the most useful. When they were trying to be like, no, Aquaman lives up in the city with all of us, and we're just all he's doing regular shit with us, just like we do.
Yeah. He's part of the team that lives up here.
Yeah, he's part of the team. What are we doing? We're going to solve this this break-in at the museum. Well, what the fuck is Aquaman going to do? And you'd have to like come up with excuses for Aquaman. There were a lot of shows in the 90s that did things like that. I feel like there was one, like when Baywatch was popular, there was one about bicycle police on the beach, Pacific Blue.
Yes, Pacific Blue. That's right. And for some reason, their bicycles were always essential to solving the mystery.
Yeah, the bicycles had to solve the mystery. Or like even in the 80s where like Knight Rider, it's like, thank God that a car was needed to solve this part of the crime.
Yeah.
It was always something like that.
I just rewatched the intro to Airwolf, which
that's the one where they solve crimes with a fucking helicopter.
Helicopter with guns on it is essential for this crime. But I got to tell you
to be fair, solving a crime with a helicopter with guns on it is pretty easy. That helicopter goes most places, and people are not getting away because of the guns. I believe it more than like Knight Rider's got a car that talks. It's like, well, they went inside the building, Knight Rider.
I'll be outside, Michael. You go inside, Michael.
Yeah, outside doing what? What are you going to do? How are you going to help? Car? I don't know. I'll be right here.
I like how Hasselhoff went from like, man, these stories are getting stale because the car is not really helping mysteries. You know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go solve lifeguard mysteries.
Yeah, that's right.
Something that makes a little more sense.
Sure. I mean, look, where does crime happen mostly? On the beach.
Sure. Between the beach and the water.
Yeah. That's really his entire jurisdiction. If you go too far up onto land, like you're still on the beach, but he really can't do anything.
Can't do anything. Sorry, you've gotten the sand has gotten dry. I have no power here.
Yeah, exactly. He's like some sort of mythical creature. He's like he's like the headless horseman. He can't cross over that. Right. Likewise, if you go out past the buoys
to land.
Yeah, if you go out past the buoys, still can't solve it.
Scuba cops. That's the scuba cop
where
jurisdiction.
He radios the scuba cops.
Anyway, fingerprints. We got a story sent to us.
I don't have them. Good luck, Interpol. Both the Bureau and the band.
So you didn't take your medicine this morning, is that what you said?
I didn't take my medicine this morning.
It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
We got a story posted on the Discord. This is from an evil Sith Lord, which... Love the name. Little redundant.
Feels a bit redundant.
But I love it. Evil Sith Lord posted this story about some new research into fingerprints because, as we've said, no two fingerprints are the same, even on the same person. They call intra-person fingerprints. That would be the fingers on your hands.
I've thought about this, and is that mathematically possible, do you think?
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up, because if you think that, give or take 100 billion humans have existed over the course of human existence, and each of them has had unique fingerprints, and then you multiply that by 10, right?
Yeah.
So you're at a factor of 10 every time. It just feels like, man, nature, well done. That's just a lot of fingerprints.
I think about, okay, so it makes me think about, this is something that you will be familiar with, but I mean, okay. The audience maybe has not done before. I remember I would go in for commercial auditions, and it would be like, we're looking for a guy who looks kind of like this to be in. For me, it was like a lot of like gadget ads and Volkswagens and
right. Yes.
And they were just looking for the hipster guy, and I would walk in, and there would be like 80 of me in the room.
Yes.
Like literally,
you experienced that.
You think that you're a unique, beautiful snowflake in the world until you go to a commercial audition. And you're like, oh, there are 300 of me, and one of me is the one they're looking for, and it may not be me, but we all look close enough. And so I've thought, like, how close are fingerprints?
Well, even identical twins have unique fingerprints. Their fingerprints are similar-ish, but you can still tell an identical twin from the other by their fingerprint. Every single finger that has ever existed has a unique fingerprint, which is pretty wild. But
makes me think God's a cop.
Yeah, I mean, I think by definition, God's like, yeah, you did the bad thing. I'm going to make everything flood. Like that's pretty cop-ish.
Just a cop, just real cop activities.
Yeah. There's some rules. 10 of them. 10 rules. I posted them right here on the stone thing.
Get stuffed. I'm going to steal the Hope Diamond.
Anyway, there's some new research, and this is the story that an evil Sith Lord sent us.
Now, I guess the name makes sense because from his point of view, it's the Jedi that are evil. So you would have to,
you're
as a
saying,
Sith
like,
Lord,
even among Sith pals, he's evil. Like, he turns on the Sith.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Like, he's what other Sith would consider evil.
Yeah, like he comes into the room in the Sith break room, and all the other Sith, of which there's only one because there are only ever two, but the other Sith goes, "Oh, that guy's a real jerk."
Right.
That
makes sense. That tracks. Anyway, so there's some new research about intraperson fingerprints. And this is only possible through the power of AI.
Boo.
Yeah, I know. But, AI is doing some interesting stuff. Hey, I'm with you. But AI is doing some interesting stuff.
We don't boo AI. We just boo the grift of AI that's been around. This is probably useful.
AI is such a bad catch-all term. This is really just large data sets that we're able to analyze with compute, right? We're able to take these large data sets. And in this case, a team of researchers at Columbia University took a publicly available fingerprint database, which I didn't know that existed.
Very cool.
You could just go and browse fingerprints all day long if you want to.
It's a bunch of right thumbs from children.
It's a bunch of safety.
It's a bunch of safety day at school, and like, you suckers, now you're all part of the public database that anybody can look at.
I'm sorry, your mom signed the release. You were able to go on the field trip, and also your fingerprints will be in a public database forever.
Was it worth it to get the laminated safety kid card that made you look so cool?
Hell yeah! That's laminated. That'll last forever, baby.
Dude, that's like when I joined Little League just to get a baseball card of myself.
Not a bad decision.
It's not a bad decision, except I had to go to Little League for like 16 weeks. Didn't get to watch cartoons.
So they had this 60,000 fingerprints, and these are 10 finger sets from individuals,
at least,
and they fed them into a big neural network that compared pairs. They took pairs and went bloop, 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 comparing them. Bloop, 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 let's look at them. Look at them. Look at them. Bloop, bloop,
yeah, at that speed with that noise, and it drove the researchers crazy. They were like, "Hey, computer, can you?" It's like, fuck.
Hey, Rodney, do not go into the room. Why not? Oh, God, it's so loud. Why is it so loud?
I don't know.
Well,
I give all my fingerprints to the crime car outside, the one that talks. It's much quieter.
Why did we install a Sound Blaster Pro on the neural network?
Listen to all the matches I'm making, guys. Honestly, I think it's just gunning for a promotion. It heard that there were layoffs. It heard that we're downsizing.
Well, it caused the layoffs. It's an AI. Come on.
Maybe it wants to let us know that there's a reason that it caused the layoffs. Like it's working hard. Whew, I'm finding so many matches in here, guys. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Hey, Rodney, you've never blooped once. You didn't find a single match.
No, we are not falling for this. We are not falling for this. You don't have to go bloop when you make a match. That's just a thing the computer does. I don't know. Bloop. Seems to help me. Bloop. Seems like you're not working hard.
How do I know you're doing anything at all?
Because I'm making the bloop sound. Would I go bloop for nothing? Bloop.
So they matched. They had pairs. Some of the pairs were from intra-person fingerprint sets, like your index finger and your ring finger, for example. Mm-hmm. Others were from two completely different individuals, and they kept doing these pairs and pairs and pairs, and then trying to decide if they could figure out which ones were from the same person and which were from different people. And it turns out the neural network got to a point where it was identifying intraperson fingerprints with a 77% accuracy rate.
Okay, so every single fingerprint on my hand is different.
Correct.
Every single one. And I've seen them. I've looked at them. I'm looking at them right now because we're doing this story, and I'm just like, now I can't stop. And they're all different, but there's something in them that is at least enough of a pattern where a computer can pick it out.
That's right. That's right. They're similar enough that a computer can pick it out. Now, we've had like 2 centuries of fingerprint technology. I don't know. I haven't looked, but that sounds about right, ballpark.
Yeah, we use the fingerprint technology, and we use the thing where if somebody got murdered, you can cut off their head and put a light in it, and it will project the last thing they saw onto the wall. Mm-hmm. And we've been using those for about the same amount of time.
Yeah, you clearly watch a lot of CSI.
Yeah. And then they'll say something clever, and they'll put sunglasses on the severed head.
Anthony watches CSI Victorian England.
That's right. If they had CSI Victorian England, I would fucking watch it. A bunch of misguided idiots using stupid technology. I would fucking watch the shit out of that, dude. If they were doing things like, well, we'll have to weigh the corpse in water. What? Will we? Yeah, of course we will.
We don't have any leads. It's time for all of us to drink mercury. What? Why?
To go to the mercury place where the good thoughts come from. It's just a comedy version of From Hell.
It really is. Yeah. It really is.
I would watch the shit out of that show.
We need to write that show. That's a good show.
We need to have AI write that show for us. I'm very busy.
Anyway, so here's what they, as I was saying, a long time we've been looking at fingerprints. Human beings have been looking at fingerprints, and no one has ever figured out a way to come up with any kind of similarities between fingerprints on your hands. Now, in order to understand fingerprint analysis, I started looking at YouTube videos about fingerprint analysis. And I will tell you, good. Anthony, there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's very, very fascinating.
You're probably very educated on it now.
I've watched more than 2 YouTube videos. And by more than 2, I mean 2.5, because I didn't finish the third one. It was a little long. Yeah. Got a little long.
Sometimes their mic is bad, and they're just like, they're breathing too hard into the mic, and you want to hear what they're saying because they're very smart.
Yeah.
But you're just like that. You got to do something about that audio.
Not smart enough to buy a Shure. You know what I'm saying?
Get fucked, idiots.
FM7B, buddy. Come on.
Get wrecked, criminologists. Jeff Kanata's got your number.
The way that we historically have identified fingerprints and their similarities is with what they call minutia patterns on the fingerprints. And this is actually fascinating to me. There are all these categories of minutia, and minutia refers to, now if you think about your fingerprint, if you look at it now, and you know it's got this kind of swirly pattern of ridges and valleys, right?
Yeah.
That helps with gripping. It helps with the sensation of touch. There's a lot of evolutionary reasons why we would have that kind of texture on our fingers. But when you look at it, if you look at it closely or with a magnifying glass, you'll notice that it is a bunch of lines that have ends to them. It's not like one big swirl like the Dreamcast logo. Yeah. It is a bunch of sort of independent lines.
Yeah.
And the minutia refer to the ends of those lines, how those lines end. So there's all kinds of different designations, like there's bifurcation, which is like an end splits into like a fork, right?
Okay.
There's a spur, which will be, a line will have a little nubbin off the side. There's something called an island, which is like a line kind of turns into a little bit of an oval.
So it's not the swirls themselves necessarily. No. It's just how the swirls end, the termination
it's all
of them.
Of the little details of how each line, each individual ridge ends. How does it end by breaking apart? There's ones, there are called crossovers that are like two lines that are kind of linked by a little bridge.
Yeah.
There's short ones, long ones. There's ones that are called cores that are like little dot looking things. There's deltas that kind of dip in. All kinds of interesting designations of these fingerprint minutia.
Mine turn into the that weird like S that everybody drew in elementary school with the 3 lines. Is it weird that mine do that in the center of every single finger?
Dollar signs? Is that what you're talking about?
No, you know the little S. You don't know the S?
The S?
The cool S that everybody drew. The cool S.
Superman symbol? I don't know, dude. The cool. I wasn't cool enough to do anything cool, let alone draw the S. People kicked my S. That's what it was. I was not cool.
The cool S, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is a cool S. What is another way to... It looks like a figure 8 Hot Wheels track or something.
Yeah. The cool S.
Yeah, that is in the center of your finger. It's because you're cool.
Yeah. I mean, just in the thumb. Cool. The rest of my other 9 fingers, for some reason, spell out send nudes. Is that weird? Does that happen to everyone?
The Hope Diamond is gone, but there are these stack of nudes here. So that is how human beings have matched fingerprints historically.
Okay. In between our fingers, we thought that, or in between our fingers, the minutia don't match.
That's correct. So you're not going to be able to find a match. And this is a problem because if the Hope Diamond is stolen and the Monet is stolen and we think it might be the same thief.
The Silent Wolf.
It could be the Silent Wolf, but we got a thumbprint on the Hope Diamond location and we got an index finger with the Monet.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
He stole a Hope Diamond with only his pinkies.
That's right. That's why the Silent Wolf is so diabolical, is that he uses different fingers to steal different pieces of art.
And he's stolen 4 things, so we know he's about to steal his last treasure. If we don't catch him this time, we never will.
You only had 5 tries.
That's right.
Because you have to use both hands. You can't just pick up a...
No, you're going to pick something up with one pinky? That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's a 2 pinky job. We've known that for a long time.
I often look at the Hope Diamond and I go, that's a 2 pinky job. If I was going to steal that, if I was going to get that out of here, I'd need 2 pinkies to do it.
It's a minimum 2 pinky job. Hey, Best case scenario, 3 pinkies.
Best case, that's why,
That's why you need an assistant, a one-armed man. Anyway, where was I?
You were talking about how we used to use these minutia, and that's how we were trying to find patterns.
We still do. That's how human beings do it. And we thought, okay, well, that's the way to do it. But how is it that we miss these similarities where this neural network can come up with a 77% accuracy rate and figuring out which ones come from the same person and which ones don't? Well, it turns out they literally did not know the technique that the neural network was using to come up with the match. I mean, that's the beauty and also fear of AI, is that AI is working outside the box. It's attacking a problem, and we don't really understand how it's attacking the problem. It's just it's results oriented. It's going to figure out the best way to get to the results. Well, the team did some analysis of the neural network, and they found out that it literally invented a new way of analyzing fingerprints. It found that the minutia didn't really matter with this problem.
Isn't that what we all find out one day? The minutia doesn't really matter. You got to focus on what's important,
Big picture. You got to go big picture.
Got to see the forest for the trees, bud.
That's right. It's big, especially when you're chasing a thief who steals. Big pictures. You got to think big picture.
You've got to think about the big picture, because otherwise you're not focused on the case. You took a very large picture.
That's right. That's right.
He took a Rothko. He's very, very into simple paintings.
He loves
patterns and colors and shapes.
Yeah. Yeah. That, by the way, Rothko, 2-thumb job is what that is.
That's what that is.
You got to go full thumbs. So they found out that the AI actually was looking at a completely different set of criteria. It looked at only the very center of the fingerprint, which what they call in the biz the singularity.
Huh.
So as we've all worried,
that's pretty cool. The singularity is finally here.
The AI has reached the singularity. It just happens to be in the fingerprint.
Oh no. Kurzweil was right.
So it ignored all of the minutia and was just looking at funnily enough, what you assumed at the very beginning of this conversation was what we did. Was it looked at the kind of the curvature of the swirls, the orientation of the swirls, and it doesn't even need to look at the entire fingerprint. It's just the centermost part of the finger. And when those line up, when those have enough similarities between them, it was able to determine that they came from the same person with a 77% accuracy rate.
Okay. Now, this is where I back up and I say 77%, decent, way better than a guess.
Right.
Not what I would want to, I don't know, put a criminal in jail.
Sure. Right. Exactly. And that they're not suggesting that this would be, that.
Oh, no, they're not suggesting. They would never suggest that. And certainly there's nobody in the government right now looking at that going like, the government would never do that either.
Well, I think that the idea would be here to help, point people in the right direction, or give you some indication as to
give you a circumstantial piece of evidence that you could then use with another circumstantial piece of evidence that would then allow you to put an innocent person in prison because of AI.
Well, they are 99.99% confident that the actual similarities that are found are legit. Like it did find similarities.
They're almost entirely certain that the things that the computer is sort of certain about mean something.
Well, these are different statistics, right? It's once it points us to 77% of the time when it finds the similarities. Once we see the similarities, then we're 99.99% sure those are actual similarities.
Yeah, 77% of the time it works every time is what you're telling me.
That's right. That's right.
It's literally what you're saying to me.
And again, this is only trained on a set of 60,000 fingerprints.
Which is why the government is asking us all to donate our fingerprints for science. You all like fingerprints, right? You like science. You like fingerprints. This is cool. You like cool science stuff. This is a cool science initiative that the community can get behind. Everybody, come on down to central booking in your city and just give us your fingerprints, and then we'll feed it into the crime computer. We'll put it in the crime computer that's searching for people for the algorithms, and we'll make the algorithm better by getting everybody's fingerprints. Help us out with the data size.
It sounds so dystopian, but I thought this was cool.
I think it's very cool.
But they want to take it. They want to put millions of fingerprints in this, and it can only get.
Certainly, they don't.
That could, more data means more chance to refine these algorithms and refine the results, and they think they can push this higher.
If everybody donates their fingerprints to this AI, we don't need the AI anymore.
Why is that?
Because we already have all the fingerprints on record connected to somebody.
We just do a 1-to-1 comparison.
Yeah, that's right. You just you'd have all the fingerprints already.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
How many fingerprints do they think they need to get to 100%? Is it like
all the fingerprints?
They need all of them. Actually, it says right here they can only do it with all. But they think that if they get all the fingerprints, if everybody volunteers all their fingerprints, and the government gives them access to the social security numbers, they'll really be able to figure out these matches. We get there. Everybody goes down to look at this amazing computer. It's just a box. It's a box with a slot in it that says fingerprints here.
Put it in the box.
And when you put it in the box, when you put the card in the box, it goes mom, boop, 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 mom. It's like, is that a computer? Is that guy in a box stealing my fingerprints?
Is that Rodney? Rodney, are you in there?
Rodney, boop, boop, boop.
Boop. The exact quote, I'll have you know, Anthony, is, "We hope this additional information could help prioritize leads when many possibilities exist. Help exonerate innocent suspects, or even help create leads for cold cases."
Yeah. And that quote was by Stephen Notakop. Dr. Stephen Notakop.
Stephen Notakop, just an average teen.
Yeah. Not a cop and disguise.
N. The N stands for not.
Yeah, the N stands for a second not a cop. It's his first and his
not
middle
a cop,
name.
Not a cop.
So
disguise.
That dude is really not a cop. That dude is very chill, and he just wants your fingerprints.
Listen, I met not a cop, but really, and I didn't believe him, but having two not a cops in the same name, it really drives it home.
Yeah. One of them always tells the truth, and one of them just puts innocent people in prison.
Just give me your fingerprints.
I do understand that this is, I understand what that quote is saying. I understand the idea of, hey, sometimes this evidence can be a little circumstantial, but we can use these additional patterns. We can use this additional information to say, hey, this half a print that you're going on, or this print that you're going on, is incorrect. This is not the right information. Or like you're saying with cold cases, it's like, look, we did not have enough information, right? He stole the Hope Diamond.
He had a fingerprint.
He only used his pinkies.
That was not in the database. Yeah,
he only used his pinkies. But now we know that those pinkies are linked to the paws of the silent wolf.
That's right.
To which I say, if you're really going to catch the silent wolf, stop hiding behind computers and algorithms and get out there and do the footwork. Cowards. The silent wolf is a hero of the people.
That's right.
But the thing is with these informations and technologies is they can go both ways, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely true. But I think accuracy, I I understand the dystopian sort of scary version of this for sure. But I also feel like accuracy should be always the goal. And
Yes,
if you
of
can get
course.
more accurate, then that's laudable.
When this computer gets to the point, when this AI gets to the point that it is not getting 77% right with 100% accuracy, when this thing gets to the point where it's doing 100% of the time with 100% accuracy, that's when we go, okay, now this can be used in situations where people's freedom depends on it.
Right. Or if you're not sold on that idea, Anthony.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready for new things.
Other potential applications include the ability for an individual to use any of their fingers to authenticate a mobile phone.
Get the fuck out of here.
Open your phone with any finger, Anthony. Meow, 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 meow. We did it.
Wow.
We got there.
Wow.
Welcome to the multi-finger future.
Now, it's my phone. So couldn't I just scan all 10 of my fingerprints? Do we need this?
What if your finger's doing something else right then?
No, but in the beginning, when it's like, hey, do your thumb, now do your other thumb. Couldn't it just be like, now do your fingers too?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's true. I've been trying to put my fingerprint in my phone for 2.5 years, and I just don't have the time.
Things come up. You know, you're like halfway through, and you're like, I gotta clean the den.
Yeah. Got to clean the den. This reminds me of a story, Jeff. I don't know if you saw this, but there are some novel and strange cases for AI that pop up every once in a while. And sometimes we're teaching these computers, as you know, our buddy Tom Merritt, friend of the show, former guest on the show. We call him a former guest because I refuse to ever have him back.
Yeah, it did not go well that first time.
He is, this guy, the worst.
Yeah.
You know, when he talks about AI, he's like, you know, the term AI has gotten everywhere, and what we really need to be calling this is we need to keep calling it machine learning.
Right.
A lot of these things are machine learning. They're not AI, and they're certainly not artificial generalized intelligence, AGI, which is what everybody thinks when they think AI.
Right.
But when you train a computer to do these things, sometimes, yes, it does them in a novel way, or it does it in a way where something else entirely could happen. And I found out about this the other day. There was a bakery in Japan, in Tokyo, off the Ueno train station, where the thing is, people don't like prepackaged pastries. They like to know if you're buying a pastry from a bakery that you're buying it fresh. And if you put it in a bag, it gives people the impression that it's been sitting out, right? And people don't like that. They don't want a pastry that's been sitting out. So what they have to do is the employees have to ring up every pastry. And but the problem with that is some of these bakeries have 200 pastries. A lot of them are like croissants or something stuffed with something, and they all look basically the same to the human eye. And so you've got to train your employees to understand the difference between 200 pastries, right? So this guy, the owner of this bakery, says, nah, fuck this. I want to come up with a computer with a camera that can look at these pastries and identify them. So the employee can just put it down. It sees what pastry it is. It rings it up, and the employee can wrap it nicely. I can't hear you. You went mute all of a sudden. I can't hear your mic.
That is a beignet.
There you go.
That is a.
That's all
biscuit.
You know is beignet.
I don't know any other pastries. What
just
I
beignet? You've never had a croissant? Your first thing was a beignet?
You already said croissant, so I didn't want to do that one again.
You didn't say croissant? I didn't hear you say croissant.
But you said croissant.
Oh, I said croissant, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could, like a cookie?
Cookie's a pastry?
Yeah, you can get a cookie at a bakery.
You can, but is it a pastry?
I think it's probably a pastry. You can get a cupcake. You can get a macaron.
I don't know. Put on any of those as pastries.
You can get a petit four.
A petit four.
You can get a financier or financier or whatever they call it. You can get so many pastries. I fucking love a pastry. I'm gonna get pastries after this. Listen,
dude, pastries for the win.
So he comes up with he pays somebody to start using computer vision to identify these pastries.
You know who you should pay?
Who?
Trees. So that he pays trees.
That was worth it to you, huh? That was all right. So anyway, they paid this guy to help train a computer to look at pastries and identify them. Well, they started noticing something. The
pastries started missing, and they figured out that the AI got hungry and ate all the pastries. Oh, curse you, AI.
No, they started noticing that, like, the bakery the machine learning of the bakery, the pastries kind of looked like cells. And this professor who noticed this was like, could your bakery thing look at the differences between cells?
Oh, wild.
Because they all kind of look like, they look a bit like cells. And yeah, it could. And it actually is being used to identify cancer cells.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And all kinds of different, once they figured out what this thing could do, it started getting used in all kinds of generalized scientific applications where they needed to find the differences between things that look almost entirely the same.
Wow.
And so here's this guy who was running a bakery and was just like, it's so hard to identify these pastries by eye, creates a program to look at the differences between pastries, and
Incredible.
It's used in cancer research.
I love baker scientists, you know?
Baker/scientist is the best kind of scientist.
It's great to multi-class into baker scientist.
You want to take a level of baker.
You always do.
You know? I like to do, even if you start off, I kind of start off as a fighter. It's good to take a level of baker just to get that alchemy in there.
I think this is the most exciting thing about where we are now with machine learning. Talking about it with regard to, figuring out how to play Go in a way that no humans have never played, or, figuring out chess. That's exciting. That's thrilling. Oh, I don't even know why it made that move. A human would never make that move. Well, to apply that to non-gaming applications, to actually think about problems in a way, and this is a perfect example with this fingerprint stuff, is it never occurred to any other living human to look at it in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of being able to deal with data sets that are far beyond what a human could wrap their brain around in any given lifetime, and to do it allows us to kind of attack these problems from new ways. And I think as much doom and gloom, and justifiably so, as much doom and gloom as people say about, machine learning and generative AI and how it might damage the global economy in certain ways and put people out of work and stuff. I believe that is all, I don't think that's just alarmist. I think there's some truth to all of that.
And I think there's some truth to it. And without delving too far into it, I think the negative sides of that truth are more tied to our current capitalist and classist system,
right,
than it is to anything else. It doesn't matter if AI takes away the jobs if people don't need jobs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. But the point I'm trying to make is that even with all that negative downside, I think we're about to live through a period of really extraordinary breakthroughs because people have this new tool that's going to allow them to do stuff like this fingerprint situation.
Yeah,
where,
or make any movie trailer, but make it look like Wes Anderson made that movie.
Yes, exactly. We can catch criminals, we can cure cancer, or we can make Star Wars look like a Wes Anderson movie.
It would be funny, and then you could see what Bill Murray looked like in all the different movies. That'd be very funny. It's
a new golden age of Bill Murray in other kinds of things.
or we could tell the difference between a Danish and a bear claw.
And a cancer cell.
The cancer cell, like I said, that was just a bonus.
Should I be disturbed that the things I'm most likely like to put into my body look like the things I least want in my body?
Yeah, computers look at everything we do and they just go, cancer. Computers look at everything like, that's not even AI at that point. The computers just look at it like, that's not good for you. And it's like, I know, computer, nothing I do throughout the day is good for me.
You know that cancer is just tiny donuts in your bloodstream. Shut up.
Also, not really. That can't be true. That can't be right. I don't look up anything anymore because of AI, but that sounds wrong to me.
That's what Alexa told me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alexa never gets it wrong.
No.
Yeah, I do like where we're going with this stuff. I do like the amount of when we're using it for data collection and labor saving like this. When this is not something where a team of people has to go through this data and look through these similarities, and you have all of the inconsistencies that come along with checking and rechecking data. Even in I'm not talking about a bunch of people with punch cards and, fucking Scantrons and pictures of people's fingerprints. I'm talking even when we scan fingerprints into a database, there's so much checking and rechecking that has to be done to really verify matches between these large data sets. Things like this really are pushing science and research forward in a way that, like, just the elimination of the busy work. Just the elimination of months and years of busy work lets us do so much more.
Well, the thing that's wild is for all of human existence, you have gone, okay, I have a problem. Let's figure out a way to solve it. And let's test that way of solving it by looking at the results. So we come up with a way of approaching a problem, and we try it that way. And we go, that didn't really work. Now we have literally the opposite, where it's like, oh, hey, wow, I fed this thing a problem. It came up with a 77% success rate. It worked. It got some results. Now let's figure out how it did that.
Right.
Let's
figure out. Let's figure out how it did it, so we can get it to 100. Because
so we can get it to 100, but also so we can learn about the approach to solving the problem. Instead of starting with the approach and figuring out if it works, we start with, does something work? Okay, now let's figure out what that approach was.
Right.
It's just a wild inverse of what our normal methodology is.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. This is cool. I like the pastry one the best, but and I'm not going to give anybody my fingerprints.
Well, sounds like you already gave them that one night that you spent in jail.
Okay, well, that's true.
So I think we're back to burning our fingerprints off.
Yeah.
I think that's the plan now.
Listen, it's a foolproof plan. If you burn your fingerprints off and then you murder somebody with an icicle,
it's an unsolvable crime.
It's an unsolvable crime, my dude.
The good news about this story, the real big takeaway here, Anthony, is you only have to burn the singularity off.
That's right. Burn the Singularity Off is my favorite Philip K. Dick book.
Yeah, it's a good one.
How do y'all feel about this and technologies like this being used? Why don't you let us know on the Discord? Jeff?
Ooh.
Fuck is a Discord?
Well, it's a magical place where people come together and share all of the things that matter to them. And all it takes to become part of that exclusive club is support of this podcast. We have our own Discord where great people come.
Our very own Discord.
We have our very own. That's right. And that's where we get stories that we talk about on the show. That's where a lot of other stories that are equally as fascinating, but we just didn't have time for, reside. It's where we can talk about all sorts of cool stuff. And you can be part of that Discord by just donating a single dollar every month to the show. It's so low. If you have more to donate, boy, we'd accept that gratefully. And you'd get more cool stuff, including extra bonus stuff, those extra parts of the episode we talk about that you hear the end of when we start. You get that as a whole extra episode. You get Q&As and video. Check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.